Hey, and welcome to my little demo of FicsIt-Networks together with our fuel generation setup. So as you can see in front of me here, there's a factory, very red. It is turbo fuel. And basically it's being produced by oil coming from over here, entering the building, and we process it and create turbo fuel. And that turbo fuel is being piped in these pipes under this building here, down the waterfall, and to these two, it's actually two, it's one behind it too, as well, tall buildings with fuel generators over there generating power. This building is actually constructing our compacted coal. So it's taking in some coal and sulfur and shipping it on belts to this factory. So this is our main power source on this save. We don't have nuclear set up yet. We haven't gotten that far. So we need to make sure that this runs at all times. And as you can understand, running a bunch of refineries to create this fuel takes a bunch of power. So in case we have a power outage, we need to make sure that we can get this line up and running again, basically. And for that, you need a bunch of batteries, which is basically what I have created the FicsIt-Networks stuff around, to make sure that we protect our batteries, to make sure that we can produce power in case of something happening. So let's head over to the factory. So here we go. As you can see in here, we have a bunch of fuel, or refineries, that is. And these ones are creating heavy oil residue first. So we have heavy oil residue being produced here. And further down, we have refineries creating turbo fuel. And over here, we have the batteries in a little room here. And then over here, we have our control room, which kind of overlooks everything here. So this is the FicsIt-Networks stuff, available through the FicsIt-Networks mod that you can download through SMM, the mod manager for Satisfactory. And we're going to go through what this does. So let's start on the left here. This is basically overviewing this facility that we're standing in right now. So all these refineries are represented here. This is the input to this building, and this is the output coming out of this building. So let's start over here. Here we have basically three extractors that are pulling out oil from the ground. So this is the raw oil coming into this building. And three of them are running not full capacity because we wanted some raw oil to be available for some other stuff, but basically they are running at about 80% right now. And I can turn them off from here. So now they're basically down at 0%. And they are linked together to two pipes coming into this facility, this building here. And as you can see, the flow rate of this raw oil is going down pretty quickly as I turn all of these three off. So, well, let's make sure that they are running so nothing happens. Well, bad things can happen because we have a backup, right? That's what we're getting to. But yeah, as you can see now, they are working their asses off to catch up. So they're doing 100% right now. And yeah, we have good flow coming into the building. Now over to the refinery. So as you can see here, we have a couple of lines of heavy oil refinery. So we have 5 lines of heavy oil producing heavy oil residue. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a little hard to see here, but 6 lines of turbo fuel refineries. And each refinery has a little button and a gauge to show how well it's performing. So as you can see, the first couple of lines here are doing well. They're working at 100%. There are a few here that are not performing so well. It's mostly because this is kind of a save that I loaded into 1.0 where they have moved a bunch of sulfur nodes for compacted coal. So for a while there, I was not aware that we were lacking sulfur in our production line, and so that kind of backed things up and made things not perform. We will see on the fuel generators shortly that that's the case there too. We're not burning as much fuel as we can. But I have fixed the sulfur issue, so these things are slowly getting better, coming in more and more, and each, like, it's basically set up in a kind of manifold setup, right? So it takes a little while for everything to fill up gradually. Right. And what you can do here, as you can see here, you can push these buttons, right? So I can turn off a bunch of refineries through FicsIt-Networks. I've hooked all of these up through these like yellow cables here. So everything is hooked up to a computer running, like controlling this facility here. So I want these to run, but I can showcase this is the line that is closest to me right here. So if I turn on these two on the left, you can see that they are now yellow. So they are, I can walk over to one and see, this one is pause production now. So I can either like turn it on from here, and now it's on, right? Or I can turn it on from the control panel, and now this one is running too. So this is pretty neat. It gives a really good overview of what's happening. Like, you can quickly see if there's an issue here, instead of running around the factory looking at each individual refinery. I know that the green lights makes it pretty visible when you hover around to get an overview, but like, this is a supreme overview in my opinion. And you can also like shut down and turn on stuff as you see it as well. I have like a master kind of like turning on and off the display here. Just like if you're running this on a computer that is not so fast, then this might save you or get you a few more FPS. I guess it takes a little bit to process these things. But yeah, and also it's kind of neat to see everything go black. And then we have the output, like I mentioned before. So yeah, we're producing turbo fuel, and we can see here that there are two pipes going out, as we could see before as well from that overview. Two pipes going to the fuel generation facility. So flow is pretty good. I think it could be better, as you know, these are not fully producing, so I guess this one could be a little more. But yeah, that's the overview here. And basically, if this is like this facility, right? But we also have the other facility, which is this one. And this is kind of like a remote view of that other building. I'm gonna go over there in just a minute to show you what it looks like over there. But this is basically the same kind of overview, but for fuel generators instead. And this is fairly remote, like it's quite far away, these fuel generators. So I didn't want to put them all on the same like network. So I'm using the kind of like internet functionality, or like the global kind of network with routers and stuff in FicsIt-Networks, to make sure that you know, we don't have too many things on the same network. So this is basically something I set up to communicate the status of these fuel generators over the network. So I'm like serializing this information and deserializing it in this facility to display all the information on these displays here. So what is this? Well, like as I mentioned, we have two buildings that are burning the fuel, creating power, and it's represented by these two panels here. So this is the left building, this is the right building, and in the middle is kind of like the central controls for both facilities. So this is the building fuel input, so it's showing like how much fuel is coming in to the left building versus the right building. And this is basically the two pipes that we saw just now, like over here. So this is fuel leaving this building, and this is fuel coming into the fuel generators over there. So if something happens over here and flow drops, it might take a little while before that gets picked up over here. So it's good to have kind of like a gauge on what's happening in both buildings. so you get that kind of overview. And then for each building, we have a gauge on flow per floor. So fuel comes in from the bottom. That's why we kind of have a lot of generators running on the bottom floor, whereas like the upper floors are not getting any fuel at all right now. And so this is kind of the result of the lack of sulfur that is being caught up. So basically I think it's filled up basically the first floor properly, and it's kind of like filling up the second floor now. And as you can see, like there are these generators coming online bit after, like a little bit at a time. And yeah, like you can remote turn these off as well. So this is going commands over the network, basically instructing the other building and the other computer over there to shut down or start up these generators. So if I want to like fill these properly, I can like turn off these ones, and then eventually, you know, a little faster, probably it would start filling up the next ones in line, because yeah, flow comes from the left. So I don't know. Haven't tried this before, so I don't know how long it's going to take for these to actually become yellow or, you know, start producing power. But yeah, and that's kind of like, and basically it's the same over here. We have a little bit better flow in this building for some reason, so the 2 bottom floors are doing well, and then we have the 3 top floors that are not doing so well. So we could definitely get a lot more power out than we are currently doing, right? And then here in the middle, we have kind of like basically a control for turning on and off. It's a testing function. I have to basically isolate the generators from the rest of the grid. So if I press this button, basically I'll take the fuel generators off the grid, which could cause, and we're going to do this in a bit, it will cause fuses to blow if the batteries are not hooked up. But we'll get to that. And then we have like kind of the same thing here, turning on and off the display. Yeah, so that's pretty much it here. I'll turn these on again. So let's head over to the fuel generation facility to check this out firsthand, what's going on over there. So I have a little cannon here set up, and I'm using FicsIt-Networks for these hypertube cannons as well, so they're not on all the time. So here we have these 2 beautiful buildings, and the control center is basically in the middle of it. So yeah, a lot of fuel generators here. So we have a little shed here, and look at this. This is a familiar view, right? So this is basically the same as over there. These panels are locally controlled instead by the computer. And yeah, we have the same kind of controls here for shutting off or yeah, excluding the stuff from the grid. So yeah, it's basically the same thing, just locally. And I can just show you underneath here, we have the control room over here, and it is using a FicsIt computer. We have the network router here, which has the local network here and the kind of map network or global network here going out, and this cable goes to the other location. And then we have the generator grid kind of power switch over here, which can isolate the generators from the rest of the grid when instructed. Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to show that, you know, this local network only contains, well, it's basically 250 generators, so there's quite a lot of devices on this network. But yeah, it's like basically generator building 1, floor 3, number 14. So yeah, I'm naming them all. It was a lot of work running around naming them all correctly. But yeah, then we have the valves as well are hooked up, so we can keep track of flow rates and stuff like that. So this is the local network here. And yeah, some code, of course, to make sure this all runs. Sending network messages and dealing with button presses that from the panel above. So yeah, that's pretty much it for here. So let's go back to the main control room. Over there, we have another mod, the elevator mod. I love this one. Love the elevator music too. So let's go back. And back to the control room we were just in. So yeah, here's the fuel coming in, or the raw oil, basically. So now we're gonna do some demoing of this whole facility here. So now we're getting to this central part here, the power part. So basically I've divided this into 3 different parts, or 3 different grids. And I kind of set up some icons here to visualize what this means. So we have the world grid, like everything that's around the map. And in this building we have everything that is needed to produce fuel. The refineries, the oil extractors, and whatnot, like anything that's needed to basically make sure that we get fuel. And then we have the third separate grid, which is the batteries themselves, which we can see here behind through the window. And you can control these things, like the relation between these 3 networks, through this panel here. So at the bottom you can see that everything is green, everything is on, everything is linked, which means that it's all one on the same grid right now. And you can see up here how much we're consuming and producing as well. So the fuel generators currently produce about 36 or 37 gigawatts of power. We're using 8.3, 8.4, not so much. And that includes basically the fuel production itself and any other production that is happening around the map. I basically set this up before you had these like smart power switches that can prioritize certain networks and whatnot when power goes out. So this is kind of a manual process for that. Like if you have that, then maybe this is not really needed, but I built this before that was the thing. So it was definitely needed at this time. So basically, I want to protect my batteries. So I'm gonna switch off the connection between the batteries and the rest of the world. So right now, the main circuit where actually the power, the fuel generators are on, they're on the main line. It's connected through the switch to the production facility that we're in right now. So basically the fuel generators are powering the production of fuel right now. And the batteries are isolated. If I look at this one, yep, there's nothing happening on the battery network. It's just like 100% charge, no consumption, no production, no nothing, right? And then we look at this one, it's basically unchanged. Nothing has happened. The fuel generators are producing fuel or producing power, and then we have the production taking some power, right? So we're going to simulate a power outage here, and I'm going to do that by basically isolating, separating the fuel generators from the main grid, which means that the draw of energy is going to be way more than is actually being produced. So let's do it. There we go. Everything went dark. And we can see that these kind of represent the different networks and if a fuse has been blown. So you can see that since the main and the production in this building was on the same kind of grid, both fuses were blown in this kind of power network, right? And so yeah, if you look at these, the fuse is blown, nothing is happening anymore, it's basically dead. So what do we do now? Well, say that, something happened on the main, we want to get fuel production started again. Yeah, it's like this is slowly ticking down now because they are actually off. So we want to make sure that we can get this facility up and running again by the batteries. So we want to switch off this one to isolate the network. This fuse is blown. because there's so much power being pulled, like there's so much power being used on the main, so we want to switch that away. And then we want to make sure that the battery power can start the production. If I flip the switch now, the fuse is going to be blown on the battery grid as well, so I first want to kind of like reset the fuse on the production facility. So yeah, now it's green here. There's nothing happening here. There's no power being produced right now on this network, which means I could pull the fuse and get it back online. So all the factories here are off, as you can see. So let's hook up the batteries. So there we go. Batteries are giving power. We see these refineries are starting up again. We are basically running solely on battery power now for this facility. As you can see here, this is kind of showing the battery status. We are about just over an hour away from running out of battery. So we are running on batteries. You can see the charge right now. It was full, basically 3.3 megawatt hours, and it's slowly ticking down, as you can see here. Basically, yeah, it's slowly ticking down. And yeah, this is the same information as you get from here, basically. So yeah, it's slowly ticking down. This grid is still blown. So let's make sure that we get everything back to normal. So for that to work, we have to get, like, basically connect the fuel generators back to the main grid again. And we do that, well, yeah, if you connect something to a grid that has been blown, or if a grid that has a fuse blown, that grid will break as well. So now the fuel generators power grid and the main grid is one and the same, and they are fuse blown. So since we have fuel generators on this grid, we are all good for power, right? We still have fuel in the pipes, so we can still start this stuff up. So now the main is running. We are generating power again from the fuel generators. Now I just heard a train, so basically, you know, the main is running again, trains are running and everything. So that's all good. But we're still running on the batteries in this facility here. As shown here, right? We are draining the battery. It's moving the needle a little bit there. You can see that this is showing how much power is being used in the facility here, in the production facility. So about just over 2 gigawatts of energy is required to run the refineries and the oil extractors. And then we have the rest of the grid where the fuel generators are now producing slightly less, like 31 gigawatts of energy, and we're using 6.1, like from, you know, trains and other factories around the map. But yeah, we're all good now, so we can start charging up the batteries again. So let's connect everything. Now we're back to normal again. Everything is one big grid. And yeah, the batteries have switched from like giving energy to sucking in energy, as you can see, like basically charging up again. And so yeah, we're switching over to charging. This one is slowly ticking up again, and this needle is moving up to 100% again. So yeah, and now, like, yeah, these are all the same, so they're showing both that we are now consuming 8.5 gigawatts together, like both from this production facility as well as anything else on the map. So yeah, that's pretty much it. One last thing, I just want to showcase the kind of utility room that I have here for this part of it. So there's, like, basically I have, well, this is the router that was like connecting to the other router that we saw earlier with the white kind of network. And this is the internal network here. And then we have some of these like switches that I was like enabling, the power kind of switches that I turned on and off before. And we have two computers from FicsIt-Networks that are kind of running. One is running the remote stuff, like the things coming in from the other location where the fuel generators are, and this one is controlling the local stuff, the refineries and the power control. And then we have some light control. I don't know if you noticed it before, but when I tripped a fuse, the light in the control room became red, just to showcase that there's something happening. So yeah, this is basically what I wanted to show. It was a lot of fun setting this up. I highly recommend the FicsIt-Networks mod. So please check it out if you want to, and have fun playing around with it. Catch you later.